Episode 1. The Foundation of the United Nations. Why was it created? Imagine a world in chaos, cities burned to the ground, millions dead, and nations on the brink of collapse. This was the reality of World War II. In 1945, world leaders came together with a single goal: to prevent such devastation from ever happening again. Their solution? The United Nations, but did they succeed? And was the UN designed to serve peace or power? Let's dive into the story of how the United Nations was born. The failure of the League of Nations. Before the United Nations, there was the League of Nations, created after World War I. It was supposed to maintain peace. But it failed miserably. Why did it fail? It had no real power, no army, no enforcement, just empty resolutions. The US, one of the most powerful countries, never even joined. It couldn't stop Hitler, Mussolini, or Japan's expansion. By 1939, war erupted again and the League of Nations collapsed. The world needed a stronger system, and this time the great powers took control. The birth of the United Nations. The idea of the United Nations didn't start in 1945. It began even before World War II ended. The Atlantic Charter, 1941. Roosevelt and Churchill's vision for a peaceful world after the war. Called for self-determination, economic cooperation, and security. The San Francisco Conference, 1945. Representatives from 50 nations gathered to draft the UN Charter. The key goal: preventing another world war. But there was a catch: the great powers designed the system to keep their control. This wasn't just about peace, it was about power. The US, the UK, the Soviet Union, China, and France made sure that the UN served their interests. This is why they created the most powerful part of the UN, the Security Council. Let's talk about the structure of the United Nations. The UN was built with 6 main organs, but only one truly matters. The General Assembly, a place for every country to debate, but no real power. The Security Council, the real decision-makers, dominated by 5 nations: United States, Russia, then the Soviet Union, United Kingdom, France, and China. The veto power, the ultimate control tool. Any of these 5 can block any resolution they don't like. This means the UN often fails to act in major global crises. So, why did they give themselves this power? Because they didn't want to be stopped. The Security Council was designed not to serve the world, but to serve the powerful. Let's talk about its early successes and failures. In its early years, the UN had some victories, but also major failures. Successes: the Marshall Plan, rebuilding Europe after World War II. Decolonization, many countries gained independence. Failures: the Korean War, 1950s, the first major Cold War battle. The Suez Crisis, 1956, UN couldn't stop powerful nations from acting. It became clear the UN wasn't as powerful as people thought. And soon, it would face even bigger challenges. Is the UN a success or a tool for the powerful? The United Nations was created with a dream to end wars, to promote peace, and to build a fairer world. But today, many question whether it is truly independent, or just a tool for powerful nations to maintain control. The big question: can the UN be reformed? Is it still relevant in today's world? Or is it just another failed experiment? In the next episodes, we will break down the major flaws of the UN and explore how it can be fixed. Can it truly be reformed, or is the United Nations doomed to fail? Stay tuned. If you think the UN needs reform, hit the like button. Do you believe the UN still serves a purpose? Comment below. Subscribe for the next episode on how the UN can be fixed.